of Africa. Nigeria we want. All for the land. Where's Nigeria? The Nigeria we want. With Vicky O Show. Yeah, me show the moon. Wale your light on. Everything what shuku. The Nigeria we want. Where's Nigeria? On Vicky O Show every Saturday. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. Of Africa. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria.
Hello. Good evening, good afternoon, good day, wherever you are, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to Vicky O Show, the Nigeria we want. It's another great topic that we will be discussing today, and we've got two brilliant people joining our team talking about a very important topic. And I'm really glad to have these two guests with us, as one of them is none other than my doctor man, a handsome gentleman, brilliant man, all mine. So I'm happy to spend this hour with him and the others. So before I bring our guests and all our panelists onto the show, would like to give a shout out to our sponsor of today's show. Provision GSH Plus is our sponsor. It's all about your health, your metabolism, and having protection for yourself going forward, especially this day and age with COVID and all that. So Provision GSH Plus is the sponsor of tonight's show. Check them out. How is your energy? Do you struggle with having restful sleep? How is your immune system? Do you struggle with stress, concentration, and mental fatigue? GSH Plus is your answer. It's the answer that you need, because the ingredients contained in GSH Plus formula may support your immune system, optimize your strength and energy, and it can empower your daily living. Provision GSH Plus can be ordered through the link we've provided. Provision GSH Plus. That's the sponsor of today's show. So it's time to bring our panelist, Wale Olaiton. Hello, my brother.
Good evening. It's good to
Good evening. You are talking like, quite softly. Can you increase your volume a little bit?
Can you hear me now?
We can hardly hear you. You have to increase your volume a bit more.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, a little bit better. Yep,
okay.
We can take that. Yeah, that's much better.
And
okay. Mr. Elvis Nwachukwu Ngbokwenu. Hello, how you doing?
I'm still alive, thank you. How are you?
We thank God. It's been a battle since yesterday that I got my second dose of vaccine. So yeah, I've been lethargic.
Pfizer.
Yes, Pfizer. Yeah, so
congratulations.
Thank you, my brother. Me, I can travel now. You guys, you can't travel.
But we're still not open yet.
Just joking. So yeah, are you enjoying the lockdown?
Well, I guess there's nothing to enjoy in the lockdown. The usual flow. We're going with the flow. luckily, I'm able to get around a bit. Well, the nature of my job is such that I can still get around, but I consider to be providing essential services. So that it gives me some level of comfort to know, yep, I can go out and still come back, even though I go out to do my normal duties, but I still get to go out, so I'm not locked in per se. So that's a good thing for me.
How about Wale? You're essential, so can
With
you unmute?
yeah. For me, I only went out. That was on Friday. So for the rest of the week, I work from home. Titi being more providing more essential service than I do as a nurse. So she was at work for most parts of the week. So I had to juggle, working from home with homeschooling. Yeah. So I think I had to create a time for myself as well on Friday, just for my own, just to get out of the house. So I went to some of our project
Yes.
sites. Yes. Yeah.
And it was in the course of my going out that I saw the kangaroo. I shared the picture with you guys yesterday.
So yeah, we have a lot to talk about today, but I'll bring Dr. Mifalaji onto the stage to join us as we go through what's trending.
Can you give me a minute I need to talk to Dr. Kende. I think he's having some
All right.
technical issues. Yeah.
Yep. Dr. Mifalaji.
Yes. Hello.
Thank you
How
for
are you?
joining us.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Hello. How are you? It's been how many days?
Maybe only less than a week. So I'm enjoying myself in the neck of the woods here. So I'm missing you. I'm missing your family. And how is my brother Elvis? How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Good to see you.
Always nice to catch up with you too.
I know, even though the catch up is a bit unusual this time. Our catch up usually is face to face, but now, we have to catch up virtually, which is
That's true. We're living in an unusual time,
Absolutely, I agree.
So sometimes we have to do things in an unusual way, but that's all right. We thank God we are all happy. We are all alive. We are well. Family is well.
True.
And you guys are doing a fabulous job on this show. So it's always nice to join you guys and do chitter chats.
Yeah, and then we're a pleasure to have you tonight. We're honored to have you to be part of the discussion tonight.
Thank you. You guys are fabulous. Fabulous. Well done.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So one of our segments is to talk about what's trending. Firstly, Nigeria and sometimes around the world, depending on what's going on. So we go around just to share what is trending. So how about we get started with you, Dr. Stephen? What for the last few days, couple of weeks or so, what news do you find to be something you'd like to share with us, from an authentic source?
Okay. I mean, as you can understand, I'm, really engrossed with the daily work that I'm doing. And most of the news that I pick up is in that field of medicine, and the course of the daily, job that we do. And the news that has dominated the whole scene right now is about this COVID and how it's ravaging every part of the world, which we all know, and particularly the rising, cases in Sydney and the way it's taking over the whole place. But that again, that will bring to everybody's focus how deadly the virus can be and how quickly it can spread and how quickly it can become from being a minor issue to become a disaster. So a case in point, and the freshest in memory will be what is happening right now in New South Wales. From just a few cases detected, 5, 10, then to become a daily 15, and then 20. Now we're talking about several hundreds. I think the latest is about 250 with about 5 deaths. So when you look at those kind of statistics, you know that what we're dealing with is really little, and it jumps very fast. It's highly contagious, highly infectious, and disabling, not only to the people that are directly infected, but the whole community and the whole economy, at large. So that's what I've been following lately, and they just, I mean, I don't have access to the news as to what's going on in Nigeria, but again, the dissemination of news, the facts, and the accurate news in my country, unfortunately, is rare, and it's a little bit difficult to get accurate information there. But from all intent and from what the anecdotal evidence we are seeing is also spreading there. It's just that it's not being carried, or it's not being really reported accurately as one would have expected. That's probably just what it is. It's going on there, but the report is just not coming out. So for me, it is about the COVID and the impact, not only on economic, but on the psychosocial aspect of people's lives.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Stephen Omi Falaji. Welcome to you, Dr. Remi Kende. Thank you for joining us on our show. We appreciate you for taking time to be with us this evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. Sorry about the fact I was late.
That's all right. It's okay. You are forgiven. So our first segment is where we talk about what is trending. So out of all the news who you've been listening to or reading within the last 1 week or so, what is actually trending for you? Are you able to share that with us? Dr. Stephen just shared about the high numbers of cases of COVID in New South Wales. And so for him, because of his work and your work, that's something he's been checking out. But for you, what would be a trending news for you that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think the trending news now is about the Delta variant, which we know has been spreading very quickly and very fast, and it's said to be 2 to 3 times, more contagious than the normal variant. So, and also the vaccination, which is the most important way we can combat this virus. So, a lot of people are coming out now to get vaccinated. In Australia here, I don't know about Nigeria. So I think the main thing now is the vaccination, people trying to get vaccinated.
Thank you for that, Dr. Remy. Now, can we move to Elvis to share with us what is trending? Elvis, are you there? Okay. While we wait for Elvis to, oh, yeah, he's there. Elvis, can you hear me? I don't think he can hear me. Wiley, take it off.
I think, yeah.
Elvis is busy drinking coffee. Yeah. Welcome to the show, Dr. Omi Falaji and Dr. Remi Kende. Yeah, what's trending for me is more of the wedding, that has been on the news, I think for the past 4 or 5 days. The society wedding of the only son of
yeah. So I'm just going to step outside the shores of Australia, and
Oh,
I am. Can you hear me or not?
yes, we can hear you now. I think it's lagging.
Can you not hear me?
Go ahead.
I'm here.
I can now hear
I
you.
can
Go
hear
ahead.
you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hmm.
I can hear you.
All right. So, what is trending for you?
No, I can hear you. I can hear everyone.
Oh, it's
Okay.
lagging. All right, let's go for it, Elvis. What's trending? All right, Wale, take over.
Yeah, for me, what's trending, as I said earlier, it's been in the news for the past 4 or 5 days, is the society wedding of the only son of President Buhari, Yusuf Buhari, and Sarah Sarah is the daughter of Emma Bishi. So it's a big wedding in town. I think they had the official, Islamic wedding yesterday on Friday. And who is with Nigeria was there, from the vice president to the president to Atiku Abubakar to, we can think of. And I think the most interesting part of it, from what I heard, Atiku Abubakar actually stood there as the groom, as the father to the groom at that wedding. So that's a big one in terms of the kind of enmity people create along party lines. This one is PDP, this one is APC, and whatever. And I think the key message is that when it comes to the issues about controlling the affairs of Nigeria and controlling the resources of Nigeria, these individuals, they are the same, regardless of the party that they are. And I think that's just a message that people need to borrow themselves sense as the slang goes in Nigeria, so that people will know that we have common enemies or we have common problems. We should face those problems. So yeah, that is what is trending, for me, in terms of Nigeria.
And thank you so much for that, Wale. On that particular one, I want to also share a little bit more about the story that I heard, and the fact that we have two doctors here with us, two medical doctors here, Nigerian trained medical doctors here with us. I would like to also share this story about when Buhari's son, the guy who just got married, had an accident a few years back on a power bike. He was rushed to an hospital in Abuja. And at that hospital, there was a junior doctor who was on duty. This guy didn't even know who was there. He just knew that there were policemen around and all that. And he was just doing his job. But for him to be able to do anything because of the kind of injury that this boy had, he knew that they didn't have enough capacity to look after him there. So he wanted to transfer him. But to transfer him, he needed permission from his supervisors. I'm not sure what you guys call them, consultants. And he tried their numbers. None of them picked up their phones because it was middle of the night. He tried several times. Eventually transferred this boy because he knew that if nothing was done, the boy was going to die. So he transferred this boy to specialist orthopedic hospital in Abuja. And in the morning, of course, the news was out. The owners of the hospital, the consultants, and all of them rushed to the hospital, thinking that wow, this is it. And the guy said, "Have transferred him because we didn't have the capacity to look after him properly here. So I've transferred him." That was how they fired him right there and then. They fired him, and then that was the end of his life because he borrowed some money to go and write an exam, PLAB, in UK, UK exam. He did wrote the exam, but he failed because he was busy working in another hospital to be able to pay $2 million naira that he borrowed. So he failed the exam. He was devastated. He paid hotel room and he just committed suicide. A brilliant young man, 24-year-old man, died because of an empty. I mean, you look at the storyline, and you just see who do we point to here? But I mean, when we look at the way things are in Nigeria, it's quite it's frustrating, it's sad, and yeah. And now it's this young man getting married. So I mean, you look at the story, it is so sad. And I mean, what a remembrance for the parents of that young man who came from nowhere to become somebody, and his life had to be cut short because of some some, I don't even know what to call it. So that is what is trending for me. That saddens me. So, Mr. Evison Wachuku, welcome back. I hope the IT issues has been resolved. So let's hear it from you. What is trending for you?
Yeah, thanks, Vicky. Yeah, more to do with my connection here, and not the coffee Wale alluded to earlier. So it's got nothing. Anyway, so I'm going to step outside the shores of Nigeria and Australia as well. So what's trending for me is the news of the fall of Afghanistan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So a few days ago, we saw in the news the president of Afghanistan, should I say, abdicated or took off, left the country a couple of days ago. I understand the Taliban, the Taliban fighters were edging so close to the presidential mansion, and he felt unsafe and had to leave the country. I understand right now he's in the United Arab Emirates.
Mm.
He's been accepted into that country on compassionate grounds. But the big thing for me is that war started in 2001. So that war has been fought
20 years ago.
approximately 20 years. I understand America spent over $10 billion prosecuting that war. They've lost men, they've lost materials. So have we here in Australia. Now we sent men, all the American allies, Great Britain, and the likes. And then it begs the question. So, I mean, at the end of the day, what have we really achieved, or what have they achieved with this? It just makes nonsense of the entire situation where, people lost their lives, people lost livelihoods, so much money was expended, and then the same evil you were trying to fight, has come to fall in full glare, in full force. A lesson or two to take from this. And, I connect this now to what's happening back home, something to be wary about, because I foresee a situation where, because of what's happened in Afghanistan now, is going to make these militants back home become more brazen and more confident to, to think, oh, look, if it can happen in Afghanistan, it can also happen in Nigeria. And if anything, if what, the news I've read so far is anything to go by, I saw a video of, it's a foreign media, not the very popular ones, but that the whole intention is the militants back home are, intending to overrun the Christian population and to take over the country and make it an Islamic. If that's anything to go by, then it's a cause for concern, because this is just going to, encourage these guys to want to perpetrate more evil. So yeah, that's what I came across, and that's what's trending for me.
And with the those militants, putting their guns down and asking for apology, are we not threading on the same path as Afghanistan? Because yes, they are getting forgiveness from our government after they've kidnapped and killed and did outrageous things, and they're getting rehabilitated and living within our communities. So what's gonna happen eventually? Only God knows. Thank you so much, Elvis, for that. Now to tonight's show, which is all about COVID. All about COVID, the myths and the real stories and all that kind of stuff. We just want to hear from our doctors. These are medical doctors who have years of experiences, in their pockets. So we are so grateful that they are both able to join us this evening. Wale Olaiton, take on the show.
Well, thank you very much. And again, it's good to have Dr. Remi Kainde with us and Dr. Sidiomi Folaji. Tonight, we're talking about important topic. As we currently speak, we are in lockdown in Melbourne, Victoria, and even all the regional areas as at 1 p.m. today. So we are on lockdown. So this is our 6th lockdown. So we're not just reading from textbooks here. So we really, really experienced this. And so we're having our doctors with us to share. We approach it with Australian perspective, but also with global perspective, especially with implication, for Nigeria. To get the ball rolling, I want to show off. So I'm fully fascinated, so that I'm not yet telling stories about things
Excellent.
that, so I'm fully fascinated. I've got, my card. If you can see the back, you can see that, so I'm fully fascinated. So we are not yet telling stories about things that we don't believe. So I believe in the science, and that's why we have the experts here to answer our questions. So the approach we are going to take tonight will be, it will be more like true or false, or myth or fact. So I will put those questions to the experts, and they will tell us whether it is true or not, but they will further expand on that. Sorry? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I think
Okay.
Elvis is saying something.
Yeah, so they can further expand. But before we do that, I want to hear from our expert. I want us to tell us your background. Introduce yourself to our global audience. I will start with Dr. Remi. Tell us about yourself. I know we are very modest, but we want to know about all those degrees and where you got them from and your work experience. Over to you, Dr. Remi Kehinde.
Yeah, good evening, or is it good afternoon or good morning to wherever. So my name is Remi Kende, as I've been introduced. I'm a general practitioner. So I obtained my basic medical degree from Ogun State University in Nigeria, and I migrated to Australia in 2008. So I'm a fellow of the Royal Australian College of General Practitioner, and I'm based in Shepparton, practicing as a general practitioner. And my main interests are women's health and mental health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Remi Kehinde. Over to you, Dr. Sidiomi Folaji.
Thank you very much, Wale, for having us on the show. My name is Dr. Stephen Ola Omifolaji, graduated from Obafemi Awolowo University in Nigeria in 1990. And since then, I moved to South Africa, where I did postgraduate training to get the membership of the College of Family Physicians in that country. That was in 1999. So I moved over to Australia a year later, and I've been in Australia now since 2000, where I became a fellow of the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners. So I'm a GP, been practicing in the rural area before I moved to Melbourne about 2 years ago. I've got a couple of practices where I have other GPs working with me. Married with my darling wife, Vicky, and we have 3 lovely children. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So we go straight to the point, to the discussion. And my first question goes to Dr. Remi Kehinde. As I said, is it true? And I will expect you to further expand. Number one, is it true were COVID-19 vaccines developed too quickly to be safe?
So that is false. So the COVID-19 vaccine has been developed without compromising the quality, the effectiveness, or the safety. So why it seems as if it has been developed very rapidly, this is because the virus that causes the COVID-19 is the coronavirus, and these coronaviruses have been around for a long time. So they've been studying them for more than 50 years, even like some of them cause the common cold. And if you remember the outbreak, the severe acute respiratory syndrome outbreak in 2002, that's also caused by a coronavirus. and also the Middle East respiratory syndrome as well. There was an outbreak in 2012 that's caused by a coronavirus as well. So scientists have been studying all these viruses, and that sort of helped them to give a head start to when the COVID-19 pandemic came out. And another reason why it was also developed quickly is also because there was collaboration between the scientists, from all over the world. And also there was a lot of funding that was pumped into it. So why it has been developed maybe a bit quickly, the safety has not been compromised in any way. So it is quite safe and very effective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kende. So I'll go to Dr. Omifolaji now.
Yeah.
Does the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine cause blood clots?
Yeah, that is true. The AstraZeneca, the COVID-19 vaccine, yes, instances of blood clotting, which we call thrombosis, has been reported. But it's quite very rare, really, because when you talk about the vaccine being given to maybe 1 million people, and you have about 5 of such blood clotting, you know that the risk is very, very low. So whereas if you leave those 1 million people to have the infection, you expose them to the infection, the number of people that are probably going to die from blood clotting problem as well, because they realize that one of the killing pathology that is occurring in the lungs of those people that died from coronavirus infection actually is a lot of clotting that is taking place in their lungs. So there seems to be a link between the antigen of the virus and whatever is being developed to fight it as well, like in this AstraZeneca, because the AstraZeneca actually essentially is a vaccine designed to copy the antigen on the surface of the coronavirus, so to help the body to develop antibodies to it. So it seems like it's linked. But when you look at the total number of the blood clotting instances in those who are vaccinated, compared to those who will probably die from severe clotting when they are actually exposed to the virus, the number is so minuscule that it's not something that should scare people off from that vaccine. So it is true, but the number is very low indeed.
Thank you. Dr. Kende, do people who have had COVID-19 and recovered need to get vaccinated?
Yep, that is true. So yes, people who have had COVID-19 and recovered, they need to be vaccinated. So when people have COVID-19 infection, their body produces some antibodies, which are like natural, like protective substances, and produces a kind of natural immunity. But it is not known yet how long this natural immunity is going to last. And there have been cases of people who have had COVID-19 infection and getting reinfected. So they are getting another episode of COVID-19 again. So still the best way to protect is through vaccination. The natural immunity may not really last very long. So yes, people who have had COVID-19, they need to be vaccinated.
Okay. Thank you for that. And just to remind our doctors, I know you're mentioning things like antigen, immune system, and all that. A few of us did a bit of science in our early days, but maybe to our audience, if you could help us to break it down sometimes to really enhance understanding of this topic. So I will go to Dr. Omifolaji.
Yeah.
This one is getting into a bit of conspiracy theories, and we try to, as much as possible, to delve into so many areas. Is the vaccine rollout a cover to collect DNA? Is this a cover up by you scientists and doctors to collect all our DNAs, doctor?
Thank you very much for that question. It's just absurd, really, to think that is a way to collect DNA. Number one, even when you collect people's DNA, what are you going to do with it? That's the first thing. From criminals who commit crimes, the government collects DNA all the time, DNA samples, maybe saliva and all that. And the idea of the DNA record, they collect the sample and they get their DNA, is so that in future instances when they commit crime, you can then, if you find anything that can lead you back to the perpetrator of the crime, you can compare the DNA at the crime scene with the record of criminals that you already have to know who did the crime. That is the only use so far that we know of collecting anybody's DNA record. So that is what it serves. In this case, now saying now you want to go and be giving people injection to collect their DNA is, number one, is so expensive, and it serves very little purpose. So it doesn't make any sense. It's not logical scientifically, and even in terms of government functions, it's pointless, really, because you can get DNA of people when you need it anyway. People are doing blood tests every day. People are receiving injections, flu injection or anything like that all the time. People are getting blood transfusion and they are doing cross-matching. So you can get people's DNA, even from ordinary discarded cigarette butts that people smoke cigarette and they drop off the cigarette. You can collect their DNA from that if you want the DNA. You won't have to go to the expensive way of actually paying for a vaccine and paying for the provider of that service to collect the DNA. So it is a little bit far-fetched. It is illogical. It doesn't make sense. So that is not, I would say that's not what the government is doing by, through this program. It's an act from, I believe, responsible governments like the one we have in Australia and other Western countries that are actually spending a lot of money to try to protect the people, because they recognize that people are the asset of any nation. Any responsible government should then make efforts to do just that. So I would say, yes, it is not an effort or a conspiracy to collect anybody's DNA. And even if you collect DNA, what are you going to do with it? It's of no use to anybody, really. And they can also get even DNA. If they want DNA, they can get it through some other much cheaper, more discreet ways if they want to. But for what purpose? Scientifically, it doesn't serve any purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. So we can say confidently that this myth has been busted, with your explanation. So we try and I'll give you doctors a break now and talk to my non-medical doctor friends here. I'll go to Elvis. There is this hesitancy around multicultural groups, either getting tested or even getting vaccinated. In your opinion, what do you think is responsible for this? And I want you to spread this not only to the multicultural groups here in Australia, but let's even spread it to to Africa. What do you think? What are the contributing factors for this hesitancy on the part of multicultural groups warming up to any form of vaccination or even the idea of getting tested?
All right, Wale. The hesitancy is not just associated with the multicultural groups alone. Look, a case in point. Myself, Dr. Stephen here will tell you, Vicky will tell you, I was also hesitant at the start. And my reason was personally, I, at the very start, was a sort of being caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, not knowing which way to go, only because a lot of conflicting information out there. And some of this information you're also getting from people who are in positions of authority. Like I was listening to a medical doctor a few weeks ago, this one from a doctor from Chicago, where she stated, some facts. I don't know how factual they are, but she made a point of how individuals who had actually been vaccinated caught the virus. And I'm fully aware that, yes, getting the vaccine is not sufficient for one to say, look, I'm fully immunized, I can't catch the virus. I understand it reduces the chances of being hospitalized or even, extreme cases causing death in that person. But this doctor came on national TV and was saying to the general public that taking that vaccine was actually not a guarantee that one couldn't die. So narrow it down to the cultural communities and other nationalities as well. Listening to someone like that is sufficient to dissuade even to dissuade anybody from wanting to go take that virus, because you're listening to a medical doctor, somebody who is qualified in this field, somebody you believe is an authority, and is saying this loud and clear. It's sufficient for anybody to worry. So this might be one of the cases why people are hesitant. People are actually not convinced. Some people are not convinced. Some, like the first question you posed to our sister Remy here, in relation to whether it's the vaccine has been rushed, whether adequate tests have been taken around the vaccine to make it safe for people. Yes, she has said it's safe for people, and I believe it's safe for people as well. But you still have people, the doubting Thomases out there, who think, look, it came out in a hurry. And I also understand. We all know there was what was it, emergency use authorization they applied for, that made it possible for the vaccine to be rolled out there and be injected in arms. So these are some of the issues that surround people being hesitant. It's just the information out there. Look, Wale, I didn't get my first shot until 2 weeks ago. I wasn't going to get it, to be honest. Not because I
think we've lost Elvis. I don't know what's wrong with his IT for tonight. So before I go to Dr. Vicky, so either Dr. Remy or Dr. Steven, if you want to quickly respond to some of these points, you can just take a note. So when I come back to you, you can respond as you can. You can respond.
Can you hear me now? I've gone out. I'm back. Am I good?
You are good. Continue. I was just telling Dr. Stevie and Dr. Remy to take a few notes if they need to respond to some of the things you said. So go ahead, please.
Oh yeah. So while it is the fact that the main thing is the conflicting information out there. I know the government, like here in Australia and all around the world, have encouraged people to go and take the jab. It's the right thing to do. And that also helped me make my decision, because when I was speaking with one of my colleagues, he goes, look, Elvis, this is what the government wants us to do. They're not going to let us die anyway. I don't think any responsible government will want their people to die or to take something that is unsafe. And that helped me make up my mind to go take the. I had my first shot only 2 weeks ago. Honestly, I wasn't going to go for it. So if someone like me was that hesitant to go in and take the jab, you can imagine how someone who is less informed would also feel about going to take the jab. Any right thinking, any discerning mind will, of course, if they feel 100% this is okay, will want to ensure they are safe by going in there to take the jab. But if anyone is feeling, is this really right? Should I go take this jab? How safe am I going to be? And with all of the like some videos I've seen on YouTube where people, I've seen people demonstrate, like after taking the jab, they go, look, an electricity bulb, they place it around the arm, and it lights up. Some put magnet. They say, oh, well, I had mine, and I put the magnet there. It wasn't sticking. So this is just the conflicting information out there. People feeling unsafe, not knowing who to trust. But for me, I think it's better to tread on the side of caution. It's better to have something to protect you than not have anything at all. Like someone, the colleague I spoke with, said to me, "It's now that I've taken it, I feel it's just like when your car insurance is expired. You want to tread carefully. You want to drive. You want to be more careful when you drive. Saying you've got the vaccine or you have the insurance cover doesn't mean you're going to be reckless, but at the same time, you have the level of confidence, thinking, knowing, you have this protection, and that at least, you're covered. If anything, even if you do catch it, there's that level of confidence that you're not going to end up in the hospital or even dying altogether. So bottom line is just the conflicting information out there, people not knowing who to believe, especially when you're getting also this information discouraging people from going in to take the vaccine from people in positions of authority, medical doctors like our sister in here and Dr. Steven, So yeah, I think that's part of the problem, the information out there coming from well-placed individuals.
Thank you very, thank you, Elvis. So I want to go local now. I want to go to Nigeria. So specifically, I haven't done this for a while. So as of June, 2 million one dose of COVID-19 vaccination, and 700,000. Sorry, yeah, I'll go back again. As of June, 20 million, 2 million, sorry, have taken one dose, and 700,000 they've taken 2 doses of vaccination. We went through a period of shortages in terms of available vaccines. They recently, as recent as last week, they got 4 million doses of Moderna, which is another vaccine outside AstraZeneca and the Pfizer, and they commenced the second phase on the 16th of August, just about 5 days ago. They commenced the second phase of vaccination. From available record, we Dr. Stephen made mention of the how can we really trust statistical trust data coming out of Nigeria. From available record, they've recorded 175,000 cases in Nigeria since the outbreak of COVID-19, and over 2,000 deaths, so far recorded. And they just commenced nationwide, second phase vaccination. So my question to Dr. Vicky centers around, you still read comments on Facebook on you still, so I want to narrow it down to the religious point and also the the cultural side of it, and how those factors, how they drive people's attitude towards the virus and even getting vaccinated. We've seen people of talking about anointing oil, and now they can use anointing oil and all that their members to be covered. And we've even, and more dangerously, we've seen highly placed pastors that by every standard you see they are well educated, and they come out, you see things they say, and the impact of that on their congregation. So what is your take on this? The statistics are provided. Do you think that as a nation of 200 million people, do you think we've done enough to really speed up the vaccination process? And number two, the area of that, religious and cultural factors. And now we can use that to our advantage to encourage more people to get vaccinated. Thank you.
We can't hear you, Vicky. You're muted.
All right, sorry about that. So I was saying that it's quite unfortunate that the power that the spiritual leaders, pastors, prophets, evangelists, the power that they have, they're not using it to the benefit of the people that they're supposed to be serving. If you want Nigerians to take up anything, you need to go through their spiritual leaders, their pastors, their imams, even the babalawos. Let the information come through them. People will grab onto it more than the doctors. that have the scientific uh, basis for whatever is going on. Unfortunately, the pastors, what comes out of their mouth, it's just it's ridiculous most times, that listening to them, you just want to turn off. That, what are you talking about? Do you really know the meaning of what this is all about? I mean, remember when this first app started last year? There were people talking about um, the way they just merge everything together. They have a little bit of truth, and they just put so much lies around it, and they dress it well. They dress it so well, and they sell it to people. And you know Nigerians listen to their pastors. That is one thing. And when these are coming from their pastors, come on, they're not going to take it. Over 210 million people, only 700,000 people, 700,000 people. It's so sad. And we just need to still, because I was thinking about this today, that imagine if not, I don't know why God loves us so much, because if it's the way COVID really works, people should have gone. Most people should have, I mean, half of the population should have gone. But God so loved Nigerians that it's still, people just get over it. People just get over it. And those that do die from it, they cover it up because they don't want it to go into their onto their death certificate that the person died from COVID. You know how we go with anything that will stigmatize the family. So 700 people out of 210 million people. That is sad. Number one. Number two, the pastors not doing their role, not doing their role. So probably some things needs to be done differently. People like Dr. Stephen and Dr. Remy should be the one educating these people. And our pastors they believe they know it all. You can know the spiritual aspect, but you don't know the scientific aspect. Why don't you bring yourself down and learn from those that know it? That what is this all about? We hear this. Go to the fact, not just something that you're reading on social media and just spreading it out there. Lies, you just take it out. And also the question you asked Elvis before, I was thinking about the role that the orange man played in all this. The role that he played last year, uh, I can blame most of this on him. Unfortunately, I hope Dr. Kenny knows what I'm talking about, Orange Man. Unfortunately, it's just so sad that those people following and listening to him didn't want to see what he was doing. It was more like, do as I say, don't do as I do. So this guy got the vaccine as soon as it came out. Meanwhile, most of his followers, they didn't. Now, I was speaking to my sister-in-law yesterday, who is a senior nurse at their local hospital at Maryland. I was speaking to her last night, this morning actually, and she was telling me about right now in their hospital, those that refuse to take vaccines are the ones that they are admitting into the hospitals. They are the one on ventilators. They are the one that are putting everybody else at risk. Those that are already taking their vaccine, they are doing well. Even if they do get it, they just like flu, you get over it with a little bit of rest and some off-the-counter medications. So, in our own place of birth, our pastors should be doing more to get the information out. When it comes from the pastors, people will listen, people will understand, people will, even if they don't understand, the fact that it comes from their pastor, they will
Mm,
follow.
mm,
Thank you very much. I think part of the problem is the arrogance that goes within in
mm,
some in our climb. You've been a spiritual leader, as you said. People just automatically
mm.
assume that they know better and they know and
Exactly.
they are experts
Absolutely.
on all subjects. You know,
Mm,
Mm.
and I remember at the time a man that I used to think is really smart pastor and has been around for some years. You know, Pastor Chris Oyakilome, and he really ridiculed
Mm.
himself when he got into this 5G conspiracy and the
Yeah.
devil code, and now they want to give
mm,
people's devil code, and you just listen to him
mm,
for about 10 minutes and say what a lot of rubbish this man, you know,
Gibberish.
like this, you know, this supposedly educated man was talking about.
mm.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I moved back to Dr. Remy now, and specifically,
Mm,
this is more again around that fascination, and again, we want to be as clear as possible. The purpose of tonight's program is just to, you know, create awareness more. I remember it was
mm,
Vicky's idea about 2 weeks ago, where he was at a program where Dr. Remy and Dr. Stephen were there as the speaker, and she felt that there was still a lot of myth and, you know, and misunderstanding out there in the community based on some of the questions they asked you at that, you know, at that meeting. I think
mm.
it was a idea for us to do this tonight. So I'll go to Dr. Remy now. Where am I with my questions? Sorry. Again, are COVID-19 vaccines not effective? How effective are they, Dr. Remy?
So the COVID-19 vaccines are effective, but like has been said before, we cannot say that it 100% prevents you from getting the infection. They can actually reduce the severity of the illness. It's just like when you get a flu shot, it can reduce, the severity of the illness. It doesn't mean that it can 100%, prevent the infection. So we can say that they are effective, but we still need to also make sure that we are using our, normal measures of like the simple measures of wearing a mask, hand washing, safe distancing, and all that. So it is effective. It's better to be vaccinated than not to be vaccinated. And I just want to quickly respond to what Mr. Elvis said about like medical doctors coming to give like conflicting ideas. I want to say, like doctors, they are human beings and they have their own bias as well. Because I know a friend of mine who says he doesn't want to take the vaccine, thinking that, oh, it's like a mark of the beast and things like that. So whenever people tell us things, we need to also make sure we match them to see if they are scientifically based. That is there any scientific evidence backing this up? Because some doctors will bring in their own cultural bias, religious bias, and just saying things. So we always have to check. There are some like departments of health websites in Australia will give us, scientific evidence. So we don't need to take what every doctor is saying, hook, like, and thinker, because some of them just bring in some, personal ideas, bring it in and present it as if it's a scientific evidence.
And that's a very valid point, Dr. Remy, in terms of, at the end of the day, as you said, doctors are human beings and they have their own cultural bias and whatever bias that we all carry, in our personal lives. And again, I think like in many professions, you always have people that, if you're going in this direction, they will prefer to go the other way. I think you see that in all professions. I go to Dr. Stephen now, and this again has to do with, there's this people out there that the vaccine contains, animal DNA. How true is this? And should we be worried about this?
Thank you. Again, I would like to let you know it's a force. the way the vaccines are developed, they don't use animals like you would think, oh, they will harvest it from animals. Vaccines are developed using so many techniques, but just in short, the COVID vaccine doesn't contain animal DNA. Even the other one, the Pfizer vaccine, which is the RNA based, RNA is different from DNA. DNA, you find it in the nucleus of the cells. RNA is like the tool or another form of nucleic acid that copies messages from the DNA to be used to make proteins outside the nucleus of the cell. For those, just to make it simple anyway, the RNA is not the DNA, it's not part of the DNA of the nucleus. And this RNA vaccine that we have in the Pfizer and Moderna and all that, they are actually operating outside the nucleus of the cells. So they don't tamper with anybody's DNA. They are just like any RNA that the cell has, which operates which carry messages from inside the nucleus onto the cytoplasm, which is outside the nucleus of the cell, but before the cell membrane, where every other activity is taking place. So this RNA vaccine doesn't go to the nucleus of the cell, so it doesn't get integrated into the body. What the body does is that they take the RNA, they use it to make the antigen. Antigen is like the face or the ID of any virus. Every virus carries its own face, its own identification code. That identification code, which is like on the surface that you can see. Once you see that picture on the surface, you know this is a virus. So that antigen, the RNA is being used to make that antigen so that it will be presented to your immune system, and your immune system will see it, and then they start making antibodies, which is like your own body defense chemical anyway to that virus, and it's specific to it's always specific to a particular agent. So your RNA, the RNA that you get from the vaccine, which comes to your body, doesn't go to your nucleus. It only stays outside the nucleus in your cell, where it is used to make the necessary antigen, which is then presented to your immune system, and your immune system produces the antibodies which protect you against the actual virus if it ever comes back. The AstraZeneca is not using RNA. It uses a different thing. They use another dead virus, and they put the antigen through this other dead virus and present it to your body. And your body's immune system see it again, they begin to produce antibodies to it in readiness for in future. If you are ever exposed to the actual virus, your body is already aware of it. So it's going to take it less time to fight it off. The reason why the virus itself is so devastating is because our human body has never been exposed to it before. It's a virus that used to live in animals and all that. It's only when they cross from the animal to the human being, and the human being is totally naive to this virus, and it doesn't give the human body enough time to produce the antibodies against it. That's why it overwhelms the body. That's why it causes death in so many people. That's why it makes people so sick. But they are now trying to find a way to show the body the identity of this virus, like the face, the passport of this virus. Show it to the body. Say, look, recognize this thing. Be ready for it. So that if the actual virus comes in, then your body is ready to fight it. So that's the whole idea of the vaccine. So there's nothing to worry about there, because it doesn't get to your nucleus. It doesn't get integrated. I've read a lot of things they release on the YouTube, and outrageous claims about how the injection is going to be like a magnet, and some people carry cell phone on their arm and say, oh, as soon as they gave them injection, now they've got the magnet, which is carrying cell phone. How can this be safe for the body? And it's all lie. There's no way this thing can turn to a magnet. There's a difference between biological materials and electromagnetism and all those things. There's totally different science there. So it does, and even if they put a chip on anybody, on, let's say, on a cat or on a cow or any animal, they are not magnetic. They cannot suspend a cell phone. So again, this is totally different. So there's no relationship between what people are claiming and what is actually going on. And coming to the question of some scientists or some doctors saying totally outrageous and outlandish things, I would say in any profession, you get outcasts. You get people that are just in their own world, or for whatever biased reason they may have, they will say things that are totally off the line. But you have to look at, you have about 1 million scientists, about 900,000 and maybe 999. They are saying one thing, and then a few are saying totally something different. Why would people choose to go and actually extract from those minority and be believing that instead of the majority? Because the majority that are actually saying this is the way to go, they're actually showing with their own example. They are even giving their body, they are taking the vaccine themselves. So why would they be lying? You know, what are they going to gain from it? What is in there for them to gain? So we would need to know that if some people are saying things that are just wrong, outright wrong, we shouldn't say because they are scientists, so their opinion matters. We should look at what the majority is saying. That is what that's where I'm coming from. And that's why I will say it's better for us to be reasonable. Because if you put it, and that's why democracy operates on that same principle, that majority decide who the leader should be. If the majority is stupid, then well, we can't help it. But most of the time, majorities are usually right. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for at least that elaborate question around that animal DNA and all the conspiracies around that. So again, I will go to Dr. Remy. Some of the questions they look so straightforward, some they're a bit bizarre, but we still need to just talk about them. This one has to do with people wanting to know whether they draw a parallel between COVID-19 and flu. And people are saying that today, some are asking, legitimately, they're asking that question that if they receive their flu jab, should they be covered? Should that cover them against COVID-19? What would you say to people like that, Dr. Remy?
So the answer is no. Receiving the flu vaccine does not protect you against the COVID-19 infection because they're just different types of viruses. But everyone is also recommended to get their flu shot because you don't want to get influenza and get COVID-19. It's going to be, very disastrous. So everybody's recommended to still make sure they get their flu shot as normally, but it doesn't protect against the COVID-19 infection at all. They're just two, separate viruses, but it's good to have the influenza vaccination as well, and also to get the COVID-19 vaccination.
Thank you, Dr. Remy. I'll go to Elvis now, and I have to salute your courage, my friend, and for your honesty. It's not easy coming on the live program and to say, look, I used to be a skeptic, for a very long time, but now I'm now a converted. Just like on the way to Damascus, you be converted, and So what will you now tell people, skeptics, especially in your role as a community leader, not just a guest on this panel, but as a community leader? What's your message to people, listen to you tonight about one, COVID-19, especially around the need for people to get out there and get their jobs?
Yeah, Wale. Yeah. Just quickly before I delve into that, I need Doctors Remy and Dr. Stephen to really understand where I'm coming from. The reality of the case is such that like even when you go to court and you have a panel of a jury, once you have an element of once you sow a seed of reasonable doubt, okay, the offender or the accused or the defendant, whatever, can walk free. So my point is, I didn't even, Vicky just joggled my memory again with, people like the clerics, people in positions of authority. Honestly, let's not take for granted what those seeds of doubt they sow in people can actually do. I believe in the efficacy of science. I believe that you have a large number of professionals, your scientists, your doctors saying, no, this is the right way to go. And that's the way we should tread, But we shouldn't take for granted what damage this very the minority can do to the population as well. It only takes one person to say, "Oh, don't do this," or it's wrong, and that's just what people need to hear to convince themselves that's not the right way to go. So, putting that information out there is not helping. Matters. And now, narrow it down to your question, Wale. I will, I'll put it succinctly. Yeah, if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for you. It's good enough for anyone. I can only advocate that people should make themselves available to go take the jab. Honestly, I don't think we can shy away or run away from it, because we're trending towards a situation where we're going to be having vaccine passports where you may not be able to travel. And if you do travel, you need to quarantine. I understand these proposals are there. I don't know how far they are true. You'll need to quarantine for 2 weeks. For example, if I'm going to travel to Nigeria and I have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and I've taken 30 days, leave, time of work, and I'm spending 14 days in a quarantine facility, I don't know how much more time is left for me to spend, with my family, and think of the fact that I will need to spend another 14 days when I come back. That's my 28 days gone already. So if you juxtapose that with someone who has got the job and you only need to show a negative test to walk free, I think there's a lot of benefit there. It's better to have something to protect you, to be insured, not just being insured, having a comprehensive insurance for that matter, than running the streets free without anything to protect you in your system, because you're exposing yourself to the virus. And now that we hear it's mutating, I understand there's another variant from the US. So any right-thinking person that loves themselves, loves their family, should ideally be having the jabs in their arms so they can protect themselves, protect their families, and also do the right thing by the society. Because the more people that get the jabs, the more will become free. Just look at it. How many lockdowns have we had in the last 2 years? It doesn't give joy. It doesn't. It doesn't augur well for all of us. So the more people that get the jabs, the safer we'll feel, and the more the chances that we're actually able to go out there and live our lives, if not 100% normal, at least something close to normal. Like I know Vicky has been itching to travel, and it's only because of people who haven't got the jab that she probably hasn't made her trips. So the earlier we all get it, the better. Look, from my point of view, I think it's the right thing to do, and we should all contribute our quota to making our society, to making the world a safe place. So I encourage everyone to go get their jabs. I'm not going to mention names here, but I know that a couple of friends who might be watching, they'll be shocked at the U-turn, the way I have just my 360, because only 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had a totally different view, totally different opinion, but today, it's different. So guys, if you're watching, it is still me. It's Elvis Machuku. I haven't changed. Go get your jobs. Go and do your 360 like me. Yeah, so that's the right thing to do. I mean, that was on a lighter note, but I think it's important we all go get the job. Yeah.
Thank you, Elvis. And we do things like this on a more lighter note. It's more effective because it's a very serious
Mm,
topic. And I guess in terms of
mm,
the delivery of the message, if we're too serious about it, that is even enough to make people get more defensive or argumentative. So you've
yeah.
done the right thing. I'll go to Dr. Vicky now. And this centers around the role, and more specifically now, women in business, like her. Um, do you think more specifically women in business and entrepreneurs have more role to play? And I mean, in terms of advocacy and also in terms of that public enlightenment, because people like you that you have platforms. One, do you think people are doing enough? Women in that kind of are doing enough? Or how else can we spread this globally? I mean, we're not just talking about using a platform here, but connecting with women in business and in other areas in Nigeria and some of other parts of Africa where there's still a lot of hesitancy, and be able to promote that culture of people going out there, getting tested and getting the vaccination.
I still believe that the clerics, the pastors, the imams are the best people for our people back home, because that's what has always worked for them. But in terms of what we do, what I do, and maybe Dr. Kenny, um, I can only tell my own stories. I can only share from my own personal um,
Mm,
my if I share my own personal story of taking it, of getting the vaccine, of what and doing something like this, because this is more educational for people out there that are watching or maybe watching this later on as a replay. And that's all I can do. Because one thing that I mean, today here in Melbourne, you won't believe how many people did go to protest despite the high numbers of cases that we do have. What will make somebody to dress up and go without mask into the city and meet up with strangers that you don't know where they've been, what they've been doing, whether they have COVID, because nobody, you don't know whether they have it or not. So what will make somebody to go and do that? No, it's not financial. Maybe some people, it's because of financial reasons, or they're tired of it and blah blah blah. But at the risk of being of getting COVID, they go there and spend so many hours with strangers that they don't know where they've been, what they've done, whether they have COVID or not. What do you think will have made people to do that? I believe that it's because they still don't believe there is COVID. They still believe all the myths and the lies that is out there. And they, until maybe they get COVID and they are there, they're the doctors, Dr. Stephen and Remy and other doctors and nurses are trying to save their lives. That's when they, oh, I should have known. I should have known. I should have known. Like we're hearing different stories from United States of people that refuse to get a jab, and now a partner, two, I mean, couples dying within hours of each other. One partner dying, leaving the other partner who is still very sick, and fear of what's going to happen to the children, begging the families to go and make sure the kids get vaccine because they refuse to take the vaccine. So but what will make people to go out there to do things like this, that I believe it's just something that doesn't show common sense? We're hearing this, even if it's a lie. Why are you not being careful? Why are you not protecting yourself and your family? Someone like me, there are things that I love to do. I love to go out and have, nice meal. I love to go to the movies. I love traveling. It's always my escape. It's always my thing that I do that I enjoy. It gives me pleasure to do it. But for 2 years, I haven't been able to do it. I would love to do it. But at the same time, we all have to be very patient till we have enough people getting the jab. We can't do what we've always done. So, but what do you think will make people to do stupid things like this? Some people, they're talking about their freedom of being able to, freedom of choice, freedom of this, freedom to move, freedom to do whatever, and forgetting that with freedom comes responsibility. They forget that they are still supposed to be responsible, not just for themselves and their family members, but for their neighbors, because we're all our brothers and sisters keepers. But they keep yelling freedom, freedom of choice, freedom of this. And one thing that I've noticed is that there are so many Christians that have been brainwashed. It's more like culty kind of livelihood or lifestyle that they go to all these extreme. There are things that they've brought into it. They've brought in child molestation ring and the fight against that and COVID. So they've mixed so many things into it that you think they are fighting for the right of people, but I mean, one of the people fighting for child molestation, fighting against COVID vaccine and all that, was actually captured a few weeks ago for doing the same thing he was showing to the world that he was fighting against. So we all have brains. We all have brains. It's not everything we read on social media. It's not everything we listen to on YouTube that have facts under them. We don't just believe them, like as if they are the Bible, as if they are the ultimate truth. Now, you ask a question that what can someone like me, in the entrepreneurial world do? I can only talk from my own personal experience. I got my second jab yesterday. I got back home. And yes, I shared the story that I've got my second jab. Yes, now I'm feeling a little bit tired. I was so tired yesterday. It's still a little bit sore. And you know what? That is expected. Even when I get my flu vaccine, I do get that kind of reaction. So even though when I initially felt the overwhelming tiredness, I was like, oh my goodness, is that, oh, they said this, they said this, they said this, thinking about what all this conspiracy theories that I've been talking about. But I'm like, you know what? Come on. This is expected. Strange stuff has been introduced into my system. So my body's trying to adjust to it. So it will take time. And yeah, that's the way it is. So I can only share my own story like I do with my businesses, share my own story. And unfortunately, I don't want to be like the other people that want to flush what they think is the truth down your throat.
Truth, yeah.
I don't want to be like that. I can only share my truth. I can only say, this is what I know. This is what I've heard from the doctors, from the scientists. And this is what I've done. And I'm doing it for me, for my family, and for the people around me. Because when I'm protected, I'm doing my part to protect people around me.
Thank you very much, and that's all we can all do. That's all you've been doing. I follow your post on Facebook. That's all we can do, and I love the part where you said you don't want to force your opinion down the throat of anyone, no matter how strongly you believe in those views. You still need to be able to present it in a more persuasive way. I'll go to Doctor now. I think I missed a question meant for you in the last round of questions, and I will quickly put that to you to even it with Dr. Kennedy, and I'll go back to Dr. Kennedy. So the question is more specifically around do current vaccines do they affect women fertility? There has been concerns around, these vaccines affecting women's and their fertility. How true is this, Dr. Obifolaji?
Yeah, to me, I've not got any report to that effect, that any effect has been proven to actually affect women fertility. I'm not aware of that. And I believe some of the side effects to these vaccines, we'll probably know them over the coming years, because they're still so new. And the reason why we have to take it up quickly, of course, is because of the devastating effect of the virus. Something has to be done quickly to stop the carnage that was following his course. So, but in terms of side effects, in terms of fertility reduction in women, I don't think it's a strong thing. I've not read any report to that effect yet. But I can search for that, and if there's any information, I can send it across. But I'm not aware. But again, even if that is if that's an issue, is something that could be dealt with later on. What we have on the table right now is, how do you prevent untimely death of people? So you got to do something. So fertility and all that ranks, of course, next, after you've saved lives first.
Do we still need to wear masks after we've been vaccinated?
I still think it's prudent to wear a mask even after you've been vaccinated, because the reason is because we don't have enough number of people vaccinated yet. So there's still going to be a lot of people carrying the virus and spreading the virus. And even though we know the virus efficacy is in the range of between 60 and 90%, but we know it's not 100%. So just to be another layer of protection, it's probably better to wear the mask. Until we have that number of people vaccinated, where we now have what we call the herd immunity, where the virus is less likely to propagate, even if it comes to the community. It's less likely to propagate because a large number of people are already vaccinated. It just bounces off the first few people that it touches, and it dies off. So when we get to that stage, the issue of the wearing mask may not be that important. But at this point where we are now, I think it's wise to wear the mask, even when you are already fully vaccinated.
All right. Wale, can I quickly ask a couple of questions?
Please do.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Dr. Remy and Dr. Stephen, there are still people out there that still don't believe there is COVID. They still associate all this with flu, and they bring all these statistics of how many people cancer had killed, how many people have this thing, accident, how many people died of accident last year, and the percentage of people that die from COVID, and they bring all these things out, which is kind of creating doubt in people, like Elvis said before. What would you say to such people? That's question one. Then the question two, I remember that there are a few times that we've been out, Stephen and I, and maybe I lean on the table, or I lean on the wall, or I lean on whatever. I mean, and you're always cautioning me, don't do that. If I take off my jacket and I leave it on a surface, you'll be like, don't do that, because you don't know who had been. So can you explain to us how this thing, because I don't think we've actually talked about that. So how the COVID actually work, how is they doing this? Because I think that is one of the reasons why lack of the deeper knowledge of what goes on is what is lacking, that is making people not to believe that it's easily transmitted, just somebody that have it, that walk by you can have it. They don't believe that. So how about we get you guys to explain how this thing work, please.
Yeah, is a question to Dr. Remkendi.
Both of you.
Yeah, maybe my sister want to have a go first, or do you have a go? It depends on what Dr. Kendi wants us to do.
Oh, that's fine. I can go, and then So the COVID-19 infection is mostly spread through droplets. So when people talk or they speak or laugh or sneeze, so they can spray, the virus into the air. There is also some contact through surfaces, just like you said, that doctors always say be careful. It's not too common, but it can occur, like when infected people touch some surfaces and all that. So when you touch it as well, you could also get infected as well. So, but the most common mode of transmission is through droplets. So that means like when people cough or sneeze, they can spray the virus into the air. But having said that, with the Delta variant, it has been said that you don't need a close contact, for it to spread, because it's really spreads very, very quickly. So you don't need to be just, within a close range to someone to get the Delta variant. That one is said to spread, very, very, very fast. Talking about people maybe not believing in COVID, I think, like you said too before, the main thing is just ongoing education, and I think there have been some videos on Facebook of very sick people who have been telling people, educating people that COVID is real, get your vaccines. I've seen a few of such videos, which, very, very graphic, of people in the ICU, maybe with tubes all over, and, educating people. So I hope some of this might be able to, help people, like educate them more and make them to change their opinion that yes, COVID is real, and vaccination is just the best way to prevent it for now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, my sister. You are right. I mean, she has already answered the question. And I think, again, when you look at people believing or not believing, sometimes knowledge does not translate to faith. So people might hear all the information, they might read about the information, but it may still not convince them that there is a virus. Unfortunately, most of such people is when they lose a close relative or when somebody very dear to them actually catches the infection and they see the agony of this person and they actually witness how breathless this person becomes and how they die alone, isolated in intensive care. That's when they change their faith, unfortunately. But it doesn't have to be that tragic. But convincing people about the existence of COVID, I think, is a process they have to go through to actually see the facts. See what's going on in the news. Maybe they should be showing some ICU events of how things are going on in the ICU. Maybe they will know. And maybe they can then go and look at the records there and see how the admissions in the previous years and the mortality rate in those ICU, and now what is the admissions rate at this moment, and what is now the mortality rate. That is, how many people are dying from, let's say, the number of people that are admitted into the ICU, how many people are dying. We know that the rate of death in the ICU, in the intensive care units, are more than double since this COVID episode came up, because those who come with COVID to the ICU, they are twice as likely, sometimes 3 times as likely actually, to die, not leaving the ICU discharged. No, they're likely to carry their body out of that place more than it used to be. So all those statistics and whatever they witness maybe might convince them. But I believe people believing in something is often a slow process, especially if they are not scientifically minded. That is the thing. And regarding the spread, as my sister pointed out, the spread is through droplets, and the virus can live on the surfaces for some time. It doesn't survive on the hard surface, dry surface for long. But if the person sharing the virus has been to that place and actually have some droplets or body fluids on that surface, another person can contact it if it's not long after the infected person has left the place. So whereas the Delta virus, like Dr. Kennedy said, is even much more lethal because it seems to be airborne, and it can actually live, it can stay in the air for some time, and if people inhale it, just a few virus, will be enough for the person to catch the virus and they start multiplying in the body. Whereas with the earlier strains, you need to get so much of the virus load before they can actually begin to multiply in your body. Whereas with the Delta, you only need a few of the viruses. So, for instance, maybe with the older variant of COVID, you probably need to have maybe a few thousands of the virus in the droplets for you to get it. Whereas with the Delta, maybe as few as 5 or 10 of the viruses just in the airborne from a neighbor could be enough for you to get it. So that is the difference there. And we just need to take the precautions that we're being advised to avoid it.
Thank you very much. Looking at the time is really fast spent. So I want to quickly put the last question to both Dr. Remy and Dr. Stephen. If you could answer that question and then go to quick discussion around self-care, especially in Melbourne. We've been on lockdown. There's been a lot of talk about the impact of lockdowns on the mental health of people, especially children. So if you could talk about one, in terms of the vaccine itself, how long will it last? If, for example, like in my case, I've had my 2 doses of Pfizer. How long will that last before I'll be due? There's no information about that, just on my own knowledge. How long will that last before I get another? I'll be qualified for. Is that 2 jabs forever, or I need to go and renew or boost my jab level at certain time? I would like to know that.
I think right now they're just advocating for 2 jabs because, as you know, I mean, there's a lot of money that's involved here as well. If you have to give 3 vaccines or 4 vaccines to millions of people, and then of course the expenses begins to skyrocket. But for now, they're advocating 2, but they are saying that maybe the effect of this vaccine, the protective effect, may not last for too long. It might be that maybe after a year, you will need a booster dose, like we're having the booster dose for flu vaccines every year. It might be like that. Some people are even saying maybe only 6 months, but we're not certain yet because this has not been going on for long enough. There will be studies done. They will be measuring the antibodies in the system of those who have had the vaccine to know how long the antibodies have lasted, when they will then be recommended to have a booster dose. But for now, we don't know. I think once you have the 2, you're okay for this crisis period. Over time, as they do more studies and they are following up those who have had the vaccine, they'll be able to give recommendation of how far, of how soon you need to have another dose, if ever. So we'll just watch this space. In terms of the health for our health, all we can do, we stay safe. We try and find a way to do regular exercise. If we are not able to go and do exercise outdoors as we used to do before, probably indoor exercises, you can try and do that. Riding on the bike, in the house, on your treadmill, things like that. Keep yourself healthy, and then keep social contact as well, because isolation is having a lot of effect on the mental health of everybody. So let's keep in touch. Luckily, technology has come to the rescue, so we keep ourselves in touch by actually sharing our ideas, sharing our experiences, and connecting with people that we really care about. That's important. And also to keep in touch with family members and be able to spot when anybody is struggling, to know what you can do to help that person. And then feel also free to discuss how you are feeling yourself. So as you are supporting others, feel free, if you are struggling, to let people that are near to you know about that, so that they can encourage you and they can help you tide over this period. So it's essentially about looking after yourself. Eat well, do the right thing, make sure your weight is not climbing, because there's a tendency with this lockdown for most people just to sit down and watch TV all day. It's not healthy. They sit, and when you sit and you are drinking or you go and have alcohol and all that, it's going to increase your weight. It's going to be increasing your health risk. So try and avoid those things. Make sure you exercise and eat well, and avoid anything that will jeopardize your health overall. That's all I will advise at this stage.
And one more thing, are there any off-the-counter, supplements that people can be taking to help them, with their immune system and, for them to look after themselves? Now that we can see that we need to learn to live with this COVID. So
yeah, they say zinc, and they say zinc helps. Zinc is one of those minerals that have been known to slow down the multiplication of the virus. So taking zinc on a regular basis might be something that we can consider. Ginger in your diet, they said, again, ginger is quite rich in zinc. So they suggest that, having meals that has ginger as part of your recipe is a good idea. So those are the kind of things that I think can help.
Thank you very much. Dr. Remy, any final words on self-care, especially mental health?
Yes, I just also want to add to what Dr. Omifolaji said about the need for booster vaccines. So at this stage, WHO is saying that there is no need for a booster vaccine, but in the United States, they have said that they want to start giving booster vaccines in September, like to people at risk, like elderly people, immunocompromised people. And I think other countries like France, Germany, and Israel are also planning to start booster vaccines. So I think not so long, it might spread to other countries that will need booster doses. And I think the Pfizer company is also saying that it might become an annual thing. But like Dr. Mifolaji said, the research is still ongoing and the studies are still going on. And with respect to the mental health, I think Dr. Mifolaji just mentioned most of it. A healthy diet is very important. Exercise. If you cannot walk, you can dance. Maybe do some dancing, skipping in the house is very important. Keeping in touch with people, like calling people, helps them, helps ourselves as well. Like people that we know that maybe they're isolated, they live by themselves, making sure you make calls. Like I try to make like 5 calls every day just to say, oh, I want to check on you. I feel good, it makes the other person feel good as well. And with the children, you can get board games, play board games, get books for them to read as well. And with adults too, things like music is quite good, can have a calming effect on the mind, and also meditation and mindfulness. So those are some of the tips and things that we can do. And there are some hotlines for people who feel overwhelmed. If they go to the Department of Health, there are some hotlines, like helplines that people can call if they feel overwhelmed or maybe they are struggling and they're stressed and they want to talk to people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You've done justice to this topic. I know we've gone over time, but I think it's worth every second we've spent here. My good friend, Mr. Alvin Washuku, your final word before I hand over to Dr.
All right, look, we can't stress it, enough. The importance of taking this jab and doing the right thing. I know there's a mention about people, and I saw on the news a few days ago, or today, I think, people protesting about being locked down, advocating for their rights. Yes, it's everyone's right to be free, but let us not forget one thing. One man's right to swing his arm ends where the other man's right to defend his nose begins. So you have the right to exercise your freedom. I also have the right to want to feel safe around you whilst you exercise your freedom. So bottom line is, we should all act responsibly and do the right thing and play our part in ensuring we have a safe and healthy environment, so our lives can return to maybe not 100% normal, but at least close to normal. Yeah. So I encourage everyone to go do the right thing if you haven't done so already. And for those of you who have taken the job, like my good friend Wale, Vicky, Dr. and I'm sure Dr. Kendi as well, good on you. So I'm tailing right behind you. So in the next couple of weeks, I'll go get my second job, and then I can brag with that same card that Wale showcased tonight.
You can also have your vaccine passport.
Yes.
Of course. So there's no way. There's no way we're going to run away from it. I'm sure in time to come, there'll be government. There might be policies in place or things that will ensure that people go get this vaccine. So the earlier you do it, the better for you and the better for everyone.
Thank you. Dr. Vicky, over to you.
Wow. What a great time tonight again. We just want to thank you, Dr. Stephen Umifalaji and Dr. Remy Kendi, for joining us this evening to talk about COVID-19, the myth and the facts. We appreciate your time and your wealth of knowledge that you shared. We just hope and pray that people watching and people that will be replaying this later on would make the right decision for themselves based on the information you both have shared with us this evening. We thank you. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Hopefully you can come back another time when we have a topic relating to medical, mental health or any other medical topics that we may want to talk about in the future.
That's all right. Thank you. That's all right.
You leave the invite to me like I did. I did it very professionally. I did very officially. I had to invite doctor, you know, I had to invite him myself. You know, so I'll do exactly the same next time.
Thank
That's all right.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Wale.
Thank you for having me on the
You're doing a
program.
very good job. Well done.
Good on you.
You know,
Right
you
then.
know.
All right.
So,
Bye.
Wale and Elvis,
All right.
thank you, and thank you to all our viewers. As always, thank you to all our viewers for joining us. Until next Saturday, same time, that we will be back to talk, to discuss another great topic. We hope to see you then. Good night, everyone. God bless. Bye.
The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. Giant of Africa. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. The Nigeria we want. With Vicky O Show. Yeah, me show the moon. Wale your light on. I've been saying what shuku. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria on Vicky O Show every Saturday. The Nigeria we want, great Nigeria, Giant of Africa, the Nigeria